What's up, brother?
God, I love being back in Austin.
Yeah, man, it's good. So you were just saying right before we jumped on here that you're fucked up right now. What's going on? How you get fucked up? How does the world provide enough resistance to fuck up Tim Kennedy? That makes me scared about the world, Tim.
I find it. I look for it. I seek it. You know, I think you're cut from the same cloth where like we try to inspire, we try to encourage, and the only way to do that in a leadership sense is from the front, right? Like first person off, first person to step in, last guy to step off, last person to step away. Mm-hmm. You know, so for me, people have to see that. You know, I can't say that this is what courage looks like. This is what I think fearlessness looks like. I have to go and show the world what I think that looks like, and that's my journey that I'm on right now. I've done 3 years with History Channel hosting a TV show, and then
Did you find that motherfucker
No,
yet?
well, there's still a few episodes left, but he has been he's been a slithery little dude for a while.
Yeah, you don't say.
Yeah. But they're still gonna look.
Could Hitler just be dead?
Oh, he's definitely dead. And if he weren't dead, then I would surely murder him the moment I found him. In the most painful. I mean, it'd be like I saw Doc Simpson that comes.
What if you really found him? Did that ever cross your mind?
I fantasize about that.
You could be going into Argentina,
Yes.
and all of a sudden you see old ass Hitler, and then you're like, "You motherfucker, there you are."
Yeah, I'd be like, somebody get an IV. I'd try to find the best doctors on the planet to sustain his life, so I could hurt him for a long, long time.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Fair.
And so I'm doing a show for Discovery Channel called Hard to Kill. And I go and I find a job that guys or gals die in all the time. And then we find an example of where they definitely, absolutely, positively, unquestionably should have died. And then I go and I do that day. Whatever that is. If you're an Arctic helicopter pilot and you crash in the Arctic Ocean, you have to swim to an iceberg and fight off bears. Cool, let's put Tim in a helicopter, fly him into the Arctic Ocean, crash that helicopter in the water, make him swim to an iceberg and see if he lives.
Was that an actual episode, or is this a hypothetical episode?
That is not hypothetical. So, Aubrey, when I say I am fucked up, I am fucked up. When I'm texting, like, you know, we had who's your Iceman?
Wim Hof.
Yeah. When I'm like texting everybody, like, hey, what's Wim Hof's text message? Because I need some questions because I'm going to be in 33-degree water for like 2 hours tomorrow. It's like not joking. You know?
Yeah.
And
like you really need it.
Yeah.
It's not just turning the shower nozzle to cold, which is a good idea for all of us mere mortals. Turn the shower nozzle to cold.
Yeah.
But
dropping from an R22 into 33-degree water and having to swim a mile to an iceberg and then live on the iceberg.
Second level.
That's stupid. That's just straight up dumb.
Maybe the 100th level.
Avalanches, halo jumps, burning up planes stuck in the desert. Like, the coolest part about all of this is I think there's this massive group of people that have been doing things for our way of life that nobody appreciates. Mm-hmm. Like how often do you fly?
It's kind of like dirty jobs, but on like the most dangerous aspect.
Yeah, like
you know?
Fear Factor, dirty jobs, Jackass. But hopefully it's more like Anthony Bourdain Sights Unseen.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want it to be, is where we're going to learn about, you know, we fly 100 times, 200 times a year. Like who knows how many times we fly. But we go and we sit in this chair, right? And we're waiting for our beverage service and those peanuts. But we've never thought about the thousands of guys that have died to make that a normal, safe thing for us, right? Those experimental test pilots, the guys that flew the SR-71, we got to the moon. I mean, we freaking landed on the goddamn moon. You know, like that's pretty cool. So in that journey, in that process, we've just forgotten that there's no crash test dummies. There's no simulator that's gonna be like, okay, this plane's gonna fly. It's gonna be a dude with balls the size of coconuts that's gonna sit in a cockpit and be like, yeah,
we'll give it a go.
Let's see if I can fly it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. It's crazy. So trying to pay credence to some of these people that have done these things, that is the purpose of this whole entire show. It's not about me. It's not about me being tough or surviving these things. It's like somebody actually did it.
Yeah.
And
now you get to shine a light on that by actually doing it yourself.
Let me put a spotlight on these group of people that do this selfless thing to put food on our tables so you can go see your family on Christmas. So, you know, we can forget about, so we can get antibiotics to a farm village in Alaska. All the things that we just totally take for granted are real life for some people.
Yeah, that's badass. So, all right, so tell us about some of the most challenging of these different episodes. Obviously, the ice, the cold water swim.
Cold sucks.
That had to be a fucking beast.
Yep. Fire sucks.
Yeah.
I was stuck in a cockpit of a plane that was on fire, and the cockpit melted closed, and I was stuck inside as it filled with smoke. The seatbelts, the harness.
They're making this really real.
So the only thing we have from Discovery Channel is no stunts and make it real. Like there's not make it real, it is real. Like there's no the plane is on fire and Tim needs to get out of the cockpit. If I get out easily, so be it. It's not very exciting television, but great. Tim doesn't get burnt. If it's hard and I have to tear the cockpit off and I burn my back up pretty bad, the harness melts off, my t-shirt melts off, and I spend a couple of days on respirators, then that's what happens, and that's what happened. You know, so that's the kind of bummer part about the show.
What is it like knowing when, you're sitting there and you know they're about to light your plane on fire?
Yeah.
Because when it actually happens, it's like, oh shit, crash, plane's on fire.
Yeah.
You've been in those situations in war where just shit pops off.
Yep.
Right? But this one is different because you know that someone's out there with a fucking flamethrower or whatever they're using to light the plane on fire.
Yeah.
So you have to intentionally move forward to it, not just react to what's actually happening.
Stress inoculation, when you're in the gym, we're on at Catamounts right next door, right?
Yeah.
Today we're doing this 300 workout, and Juan hits the timer, beep, 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 and we go, right? It's a race.
Right.
I have Tommy Shane Steiner, I have another one of your employees, I have my strength coach, and I have, how many professional athletes are in there right now? 40, 50 in the gym right now, getting ready for the combine? So, and they're all watching the hairy white troll in the corner, who looks like he's been beaten for the past and starved for the past 5 months. He's kind of a pit bull that's been electrocuted and he's just stuck in a cage. So the eyes are on me, and I know they are, and the timer's going, and now everybody's watching who's going to be first. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's still, you just got to perform.
Yeah.
And whether that's walking into the octagon, a helicopter's landing, and you see muzzle flashes, all you got to do is perform. And you either prepared for it or you didn't. You're going to either succeed or you're going to fail. And there's nothing wrong with failure. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what everybody forgets is failure is awesome. Failure is the greatest learning tool. Failure is the greatest opportunity for growth. How do we get faster? How do we get stronger? How do we get harder to kill? We fail.
Yep.
Our muscles ultimately reach a point where they go fuck yourself, Aubrey.
And then they learn.
The
body is a perfect learner.
It is.
That's something that we don't realize. It will perfectly learn and adapt as long as you don't teach it too harshly that it breaks.
Yep.
If you make it through, it will learn.
And the mind's the same.
Yeah.
So when I'm sitting there and, there's things that definitely got my heart going, like we didn't properly dilute the engine. So there's aviation fuel inside of the engine that we didn't take into consideration. So aviation fuel burns.
Surprise!
Yeah. Got you there. Freaking idiot. That's what I was going through my head. I was like, oh yeah, there's still fumes in there. Fumes burn. Fumes burn faster than actual solid fuel. This is going to suck. Whoosh! And then boom, and it goes. There's moments like that where,
do things go really slow when you have that? That's what I've experienced when adrenaline's that high.
Is a beautiful
It's just like
drug.
And
you can think back to like nanoseconds,
right?
Tiny little milliseconds of your mind of okay, my hand was moving towards my harness to get it, and I was pushing forward so hard. Oh, and that they melted that I didn't even have to open my harness because it just melted off the seat.
Yeah.
But you remember every detail, the smell of the seat.
It's fucking wild how that happens. I only have one real experience where I can 100% recognize that, and that was, all right, so I'm driving on, I think it was 71 out by Bee Caves. Anyways, 2 lanes and 2 lanes, but fast, 75, right? There's a cop chasing a car coming across me in the other lanes. I'm in the left lane towards the middle. And I'm watching this cop chasing the car, and then in my lane, someone is making a left-hand turn, stopped ahead. But I'm busy watching in my rear view, watch the cop chase this guy behind. So I'm not paying attention that someone had stopped to make a left-hand turn out of my lane. And I'm going 65.
Yeah.
And I look, and by the time I see it, no fucking chance of braking, right? So then everything just goes super slow motion. And I look to my right, boom, blocked in, car in the right-hand lane. And then I'm look to the left, there's nobody in that next left lane. So I cross over the double yellow, go around him on the other side of the traffic. But that happened, what must have been a quarter of a second, half a second. I remember like every little fiber turning my neck one way, seeing that car, remembering the car, looking back the other way, and moving. It's fucking insane.
Amazing. Think about, though, the millions of little things that you've done in the past, let's just say 5 years, just to make it easy, that you were able to put anybody else in that same situation, they smash into that car and everybody dies, right? Like how many times I walked into your office, I picked up that sword and I started farting around with your sword, right? But how many times have you picked up that sword and you've moved with it? How many times have you sparred with it?
Yeah.
How many times have you made the hand-eye coordinations and the quick split seconds decisions to avoid somebody coming in to stab you or to slice you, you know, like
Sure.
And grow that to how many times you've trained and how many times you've moved a kettlebell and how many times you've moved a rope and what you drank that day, how much you slept and how much water that you had and if you had sex, if you didn't. All those millions of little decisions contributed to your ability to, in that split second, perform.
100%. Yeah, that's why sports are so beautiful, and like all forms of training are so beautiful. You know, all right, maybe it's a pass that's coming and a defender that's coming, and you have 3,000 people watching you from the stands, and it matters, and your girl's there, and the stakes are high. Yeah. It's still a game, it's still basketball, but that's training you to react in that instinct and make the right decision. And so, yeah, all of that surely prepared me for that one moment, which may be the reason I'm fucking sitting here and not man, Aubrey was a good dude. He had a lot of potential, you know? It's wild.
Thank God for it, though.
Yeah, exactly. And the beauty of the human organism that has these endogenous cocktails that it can just release. You know, your mind can perceive something and it can recognize danger, release something that'll slow time. It's like we're fucking little superheroes. Yeah. Like we have this button that can be pressed in our endocrine system that'll just like.
Does everybody have that slows.
Though? I guess to a certain degree. I mean, I'm sure some people's are more honed and it's been practiced more and the body knows it, but there's there.
Cool stories of like the most unassuming, the unsuspecting, you know, mom who's the car, they're changing oil and the car falls off the jack and the kid gets stuck underneath the car and the mom picks up the car. Yeah. You know, like you read those, or the firefighter that climbs up and to grab a kid that's stuck on the third floor and the drainage pipe on the side is now red hot and he gets the kid in one hand and he climbs down the pipe using his other hand, which then melts to the bone. And you read about, and he just turned off his pain receptors and melted his hand to save this kid. So like, but then you read about like people injecting themselves with heroin while they're 7 months pregnant. You know, like we're still the same species. What the fuck though? You know, like how can we find such
a gamut?
Yeah, this spread, this diversity, this space between remarkable and unexceptional.
And I think that's
kind of infuriating.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I think some of this is momentum, early choices leading to other choices, But I think we have so much more potential than we realize. And I think a lot of times people get really deterministic, you know, oh, well, is their environment? But I'm a real strong proponent of free will. You know, sometimes maybe it's just a small margin, but most of the choices are just small margins. Do I go to the gym or do I watch TV? You know, it's not like you have to have a big difference. It's kind of like, and just that little bit extra, you know, that little bit, like you said, something you had for breakfast, or maybe a motivational quote you read that day on Instagram because you follow this person. You're like, man, that guy, I followed Tim. That got me fired up. I saw some cool shit he was doing. I followed Jocko and he was fucking got me fired up this morning. So I am going to go to the gym. And then by going to the gym, then you have more energy. Then you have sex with your wife and then you sleep better. And then you wake up the next day better. You know, and that's kind of the basis of what I was writing in this book, is it's just like these little small changes, and it can work the opposite way too. You know, down in this kind of negative spiral. Oh, well, I don't feel good. Well, maybe I'll just take this painkiller and then just veg out. And then maybe I'll just eat the hot Cheetos instead of sauteing the veggies. And then I'll maybe, you know, all of a sudden down there, it's a slippery slope both ways. But you can stop it and change momentum at any point, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing. You can decide right now that my next choice is going to be towards the positive. And that's all you fucking need.
Yeah, and they're never like right turns. You know, it's not like a 90-degree change, this course. It's, like you said, it's this minuscule, tiny little course correction. Like veterans, you know, I do a ton of military, law enforcement, and these guys, they're struggling from post-traumatic stress, right? And they're like, oh man, I'm not sleeping well. And I was like, what'd you eat for dinner? How many times did you train? You know, did you have sex with your old lady? You know, no, and no. Then shut your face. You know, like, no, I'm not going to help you.
Do the little things first.
Yeah, talk to a doctor about getting you on an antidepressant when you have zero discipline to make any of the right choices to set yourself up for success.
Right.
You know, like, I should be a mess. The things that I've done, the things that I've seen, you know, like I should be a broken mental disaster. But how many times do you see me in your gym? Every time I'm home.
Yeah.
The moment my plane lands, what's your schedule this week?
Right.
You know, the moment I get done training, walking up to the cafe is like, oh man, can you give me that coconut joy? Just a splash of coffee, you know, and like life gets so freaking good. And I get home, baby's still at school. What's the old lady doing? You know, hey hottie, what do you freaking sleep my little ass? And everything just gets better and sweeter and tastes better and just keeps getting better and better and better. But like, it goes both ways. You know, you either make the right little tiny choices. And guys ask about gunfights, like how did you survive that? And I was like, well, it didn't matter what I did then and there. You know, a cop, Boston bombing, you know, chasing those guys. They finally get them cornered. And like, how do you set yourself up for success that time? Like, it didn't, and they say the same thing. It didn't matter what I did then and there. It was a million little decisions and choices leading up to that.
Yeah.
That determined whether I succeeded or I failed, or whether the guy got away or they didn't, or whether I died and I failed my team members, or I died and I failed my family, or, you know, like millions of little decisions. I'm pumped to read your book, by the way.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Let's talk. Let's go into the darkness a little bit. Let's talk about some of that.
My old friend.
Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend. You're in a very rare category of someone who's not only knocked people unconscious in front of millions of people in the UFC, which is one type of feeling, but that's in kind of the sports realm, and it's a much different feeling. But then in the combat and competition for where lives, freedom, things are at stake, you know, you've also been the taker of life in that situation, and it's got to be, you know, kind of worlds apart in how you look at that. But what is that feeling on both of those fronts?
Not that, like, I know you know this about me. I'm not like this mentalist, you know, like this existential perspective.
Sure.
But it's almost unreal.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to, it's surreal. It's hard to explain. Not it's like it's an out of body experience. But I remember, you know, walking up to the cage, main event fight in the UFC to fight Michael Bisping, who later came middleweight champion. And the lead up to that fight, where, you know, a lot of things exchanged, and walking into the cage, you know, to the song "The Rooster," my walkout song, which is about, you know, Vietnam vets, so like a huge emotional connection there.
Yep.
And it's how do you explain what that feels like? You know, where your main event, one of the biggest cards in the UFC of the year, and you're fighting the marquee fighter that later becomes the middleweight champion.
It's almost like for that moment, you're the most important thing happening in the world. I mean, maybe not in actuality, but it is kind of like that.
That's what it feels like.
A main event UFC, you're the guy, you're on the main event, and that's the thing that's going on. That's the Saturday night thing.
Yeah.
It's the UFC fights. We got Tim Kennedy, Michael. It's a very rare position. I mean, obviously Super Bowl guys, they feel it now.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Brady's been there a bunch of times. Like, next Sunday, that is the thing that is happening that matters the most. You know, in culture at the very least. You know, it's wild.
So I have this thing that like goes through my head when I know it's on the line, when I know bullets are gonna fly, when I know it's real, and when I'm training today, 45 minutes ago, in my mind, it was like, hurry up and fail. That's what I say to myself. Hurry up and fail. Hurry up and fail. Like, push myself so hard where I finally break. When we're doing box jumps, pull-ups, deadlifts, thrusters, rows. I gotta remember all what we were doing. Like, just go fuck myself. But
Yeah.
I was rushing to finally break. I wanted to find that point, right? But when I go in, it's time to perform. It's, I hear that training montage in my mind, hurry up and fail, and then I tell myself, not today. Like, this is the day where you're not going to break me. I'm not going to fail. There's nothing I can do because I've pushed myself to breaking so many times every day I walk through the doors that it's not going to fucking happen today. And that's what I tell myself. Whether it's Michael Bisping, whether it's a helicopter, I've done it so many times in the gym, hurry up and fail, that when I walk in, this is not going to happen today. There's not going to be any failure.
I love that. That's fucking epic. Because people don't think about it like that. People are so afraid of the failure, and it's probably that fear of failure is probably the thing. It's like a wet blanket that covers everybody's joy and everybody's expression, and everybody's just kind of flopping around underneath this cold, wet blanket of fear of actually failing. And then a few people burst through and they dramatically fail, and then they fall back into the blanket maybe for a second, and then boom, back out, until eventually they just leave that motherfucker behind. And then you look up in the sky and you see that person that's not afraid of failing anymore.
And then if we even try to define what failure is, so we get done with this horrific workout, and there's 30, 40 professional athletes, like these monster, beautiful, black, ripped dudes, this huge 6'5" white guy that has no body fat. And like, I'm trying not to throw up, and they're doing vertical leap measurements, right? And I have hair on the back of my hands. Like, I am like one generation removed from a tree. And of course, like, hey, Tim, come over here. And I was like, oh God, no. But sure as shit, I walk over there and I was like, you guys want to see me? You want to see me jump, right? Like, you want to see what my vertical leap is? Now, what's failure there? Is failure not doing it? So am I going to have a 34-inch leap like that wide receiver that just went right before me? I'm not. Right? But guess what? I'm going to try to get one. Yeah. I'm going to try to get a 34. Yeah. Hell yeah, right?
Hell yeah.
But so then
failure's a myth.
That's right.
It's a fucking myth.
Failure is in your own mind. Failure is in your own body. Failure is in your own muscles. And that's it. Babe Ruth failed how many times in the batter box and then became the most known home run hitter ever. Michael Jordan failed how many times from the free throw line or from the 3-point line? Sure. He became the most known basketball player ever to play the game. Tiger Woods failed in so many different ways, but he'll be remembered as one of the best golfers ever.
Even thinking back to your jump, with you just giving it, and you like, all right, so you'll hit some and you'll knock those little levers. It's like these little levers, for people who don't know, that spin around, right? And you try to get the highest lever you can get. So you usually go one jump and you'll get most of them, and everybody will be like, "Oh, good job!" But then you'll rally for the second one because you want to see if you can just touch.
I rallied for the third.
Yeah, exactly.
I did. Yes, I did.
You fucking rally again, and then everybody's watching, and it's not whether you even hit another one; it's whether you just fucking give it. You just stretch all the way you can, and people know that you're stretching. And if you do hit one of those, people are stoked. They're not measuring you against somebody else. Just the fact that you gave it. Like, people are excited. And it doesn't matter if you're doing vertical leap or if you're fucking dancing at a wedding, right? If you're the guy who's out there and you're just getting it to the song, like, it doesn't matter if you look good dancing, but people will be like, oh, he's fucking getting it. That's awesome. And if they're not like that, that's just because they're stuck in their own fear and they want justifications of why they don't have to do something that's scary to them. But good human beings are always going to be excited when you go for it. Yeah. They don't actually care if you fail.
Fear's a bitch, man.
Fear is a bitch. It is the bitch. Yeah. It is the bitch. When you boil everything down, like, that's the virus. That's the thing that infects us all.
Yeah, and it is contagious.
Contagious as fuck.
You can surround yourself with people that have it, and you'll get it. Mm-hmm. You'll be in a training environment that has it. You'll be in the military. I remember looking back at units. We had a deployment where we had not one guy. We had 200 and change direct action missions for deployment. So like, we went and blew up 200 and something front doors, rushed in and found bad guys. So then the next deployment, we're like, oh man, we were like 0 for 200. Like, how are we going to beat that? We're fearful of not being perfect again. And it created a bad chemistry where we're, instead of training to be the best instead of training to be faster, stronger, harder to kill, more accurate, more violent, we were training not to fail.
Yeah.
And it took somebody from the outside coming in and be like, hey man, your unit is messed up right now. like the mentality, and it was just fear. We were fearful of failing when we should have just been failing at every opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a weird
It's
thing.
hard. That's the challenging thing about war, though, right? Because war is one of the few, like, we get a lot of playgrounds where we get to play. Like, ultimately, even the UFC, even though the stakes are pretty high and you have money on the line, it's still a playground. You can lose, you can come back, you're going to have a microphone, most likely at the end, and you'd be like, yeah, I learned a lot from that. I could have prepared a little better. I'll be back. War, there may not be that microphone at the end of it, and that's I think what boggles my mind when I think about, you top level performers out there in that field, because you don't get to learn from the full mistake. You have to learn from like the micro mistakes, the almost mistakes, and you have to learn those really fucking good, because a real mistake, that's your only mistake.
Yeah, and you don't get a second swing in the batter box.
Yeah, that's like how the idea of learning from that. I guess like you said, you just have to the training, and then in the training learn, and then that near misses, that bullet that fucking whizzes by you, and you're like, damn, I wasn't quite ready for that one, or
so
I don't know.
We have these things, ARs, after action reviews, and it's not just for us. An after action review is we look at the things that we did well, which we call sustains, and the things that we did poorly that we call improves. And we look at every single element of a mission. So if the Navy SEALs go into a mission, we look at their hair product, we look at the length of the shorts, we look at how tan they were. I'm just kidding. No, but we look at their platform, how they got to the fight, what helicopter, vehicle, what their load plan was. Was it good? Was it bad? How they got off the helicopter, how they moved into the target, how they did actions on the objective. Once they moved off the exfil to the helicopter, to getting and we look at every single moment of that whole entire operation, and we do sustain or improve. Because we don't, just like you said, we don't have another chance.
Yeah.
So we have to learn at every single opportunity. And every time that we go into a mission, almost violently do this AAR, this process, because it is one of the most important moments to learn, to improve, because we don't get another chance at it. If we mess it up, like there's no coming back from that one.
Yeah. Is there something about those grave consequences that actually helps the learning process, though? Because I feel like in other situations where you can kind of get by, maybe you can have a bigger ego that prevents you from admitting failure and admitting fault, like, oh no, whatever, because there isn't that pressure of potential imminent death. Like, is that final consequence helpful in removing people's egos, allowing you to look honestly at your mistakes because you just have to?
I can't speak to all special operations, but specifically with Army Special Forces, it's really hard to have an ego.
Because that'll probably get you killed.
Yeah. For 2 years, the whole entire process of getting your Green Beret is just stripping the being, the person, the soldier, down. All we're doing is stripping them down, layer by layer, of their ego, their pride, their physicality, their intellect. We're just stripping it down to what is ultimately going to be kind of this raw, exposed person. And that's all we want. So when you get to a team, you are a raw, vulnerable, exposed human. And it's the best way to be, and everybody is that same way, and everybody latches on to that to protect that exposed person. So that I'm not protected by what I have on me. I'm protected by what's around me, and that's my brothers.
Right.
And it's the same, like the reason dudes jump on grenades in a heartbeat without even thinking about it. The reason that I'm going to step in the center of the hallway, what we call plating, which is taking my body armor and I'm going to put it in the center of the hallway so everybody behind me can move down the hallway without getting shot in the back, because I'm putting myself in the center to block those bullets, is because the only thing that's going to protect my exposed ego, my exposed person, my exposed soul, my exposed brain, this body, this bag of blood, is the dudes around me. And there's nothing more beautiful, and there's nothing more pure, and there's nothing I love more than that feeling of brotherhood, camaraderie. I don't even, those are all wrong words for it. And I'm doing a horrible job explaining it. But in those 2 years, 2.5 years that guys go through the Special Forces qualifying course, you know, people think that you're learning how to be this cold-eyed, slithery snake killer. All that they're doing is stripping away layers so that when you get to your unit, when you get to your team, you're just a raw, exposed person.
Yeah, and when you're saying raw exposed, what you really meaning, that raw exposed thing, it may sound vulnerable, but that's actually where your strength is, because the weak parts of you are your ego.
Yeah.
It is your pride. It is your identity. It's the things you think about yourself. It's the limits that you've put upon yourself. It's the fears that you have about what other people will think about you. That's all the shit that makes it hard to get along with people. That's shit that makes it hard to see other people as yourself. That's what makes it hard to have brothership and have friendship and camaraderie. It's all of that bullshit of trying to be superior, trying to be dominant, because the ego's afraid that it's not dominant. So it tries to assert this type of thing. And if you pull all that away and you get with another group of people who all have that all away, and you're bound by this common mission, you know, it makes absolute sense how this team would congeal together as one unit, a unit that's put the goal of the unit and put the goal of the mission above even their own life. Special thing.
It's a cool thing. I freaking love it. You know, like I'll deploy in March, end of March, April, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
You're a crazy person.
You know,
it's amazing. I was talking to Mike Dolce about one of the things. You know, he'll go through weight cuts with his fighters, sit in the sauna. You know, and a lot of, obviously, especially, I think people are still cutting a savage amount of weight, but there was probably at the peak, you know, when there was IVs available and everything that was online, people cutting just an unreal amount of weight, and losing that much water weight will strip someone down. And he was saying that one of his favorite things was that moment of surrender that comes when you're at that last 2 pounds and you just got absolutely nothing. And you're all of these things that you're projecting, everything you're trying to be, like, I'm this guy. Yeah. It's just like, nah, man, I'm fucking this guy. And I got this much sweat left. Like, help, man, I love you. I'm sorry. I'm fucked. You know, like,
that's funny.
And he's like, that, you get to see someone's soul. Like, you get to see who they really are in that. And it sounds like that's, you know, and then they water back up. And by the time they're out there, they're, you know, doing whatever they are. They've put on some level of identity. You know, probably the champions put on less of that identity and they live with less of that. But yeah, it's interesting because we all have those moments, and it can happen in the gym, you know, when you've given it all you got. It can happen in the sauna. It's super important to get to those spots.
Yeah, man, I didn't even think about, so when I would cut really, really hard, there's only 3 or 4 people I would let be around me.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're totally right. I felt so open. You know, like there was nothing there to hide. Not only physically there was nothing, because I'm like 4% body fat, and I'm, you know, you're pretty much naked while you're cutting weight in those last few pounds. So like,
dick is as small as it's ever been.
Yeah, and that's the tiniest it'll be.
You have sucked the moisture out of that thing. It is a raisin.
That's so true. I love, like, in the afternoon, when you're fully hydrated, you've taken a shower, maybe you've been in the pool, you're like, yeah, I'll walk around with that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a dick slinging vanilla gorilla right now.
But then, like, when you're, you know, a 220-pound guy that's now 186.2 pounds, you've been in a sauna for the past 4 hours, and you haven't had anything to drink for the past 36 hours.
Yeah.
Bro.
Nah.
No.
Nah. Co-ed sauna ain't gonna work. Nah.
Yeah. So I would have, like, Greg Jackson, my team from Jackson MMA. You know, there's, like, Cowboy. There'd maybe like 5 or 6 guys that I would be around. And then one of my best friends, Nick Palmisano, and Shane, Andrew Craig. I mean, in 10 years, that's probably the only guys that have seen me at that moment.
Right.
That's a cool perspective. I never even thought about that. And that was subconsciously, I wasn't intentionally, like, pushing people away.
Sure.
That was just like, I think they did it too. Like, they were protecting me.
For sure. Because that's, and I think
also a snarky little bitch.
Yeah, of course, because, you know, that's also part of it. You know, you're fucking hungry and thirsty and all that. So you have to be around people that are not going to be reactive. Yeah. You have to be people that are stripped of enough of their ego, and they're like, hey, he said that mean thing to me. You know, you don't want to be with someone like, hey man, you really hurt my feelings in that weight cut. Like, you don't want to be with that motherfucker. No. You want to be with a guy like,
screw
you
that
were
guy.
A fucking bitch during that weight cut. You know, I'm glad you're fucking hydrated. You were an insufferable asshole. But tell you that later, you know, like, not like make it, just laugh about it. Like, you need to be with people that are that solid for sure. But everybody needs to, like, almost all of us are not going to be in combat. We're not going to have that chance or go through special forces training. But you can push yourself, you know, closer to that. You can go in. Like, I was just in a Temazcal, which is like the Mexican version of the Inipi, the sweat lodge, the Native American sweat lodge. But they build this like a stone igloo, and they bring in all these like molten hot rocks in the middle, and then they just keep pouring water and steam, and it's cave dark in there. So it just keeps getting hotter and hotter.
Do you realize how different our lives are?
Yeah,
this is why I think I love you.
Well,
because like I love contrast. And go on.
Yeah,
Tell me more, Aubrey.
Okay, so you go out. Sorry, so I'll set the scene. So you go out and there's this raging fire, and there's all these rocks underneath the raging fire, and you go through like a purification ceremony. Get down in your shorts. They blow copal on you, which is like a resin that's native to Mexico. It smells very astringent, almost like a eucalyptus-y smell, and they just kind of wash you in this smoke. And then you go in there, and they bring in what are called the grandfathers. They call them the grandfathers because stones have been around before men, before anything. So they're like the original physical form of the earth, the stones.
Did you smash them?
So they're already kind of cut up. Just smash. Okay. So they bring in they call them Abuelitos. It's Spanish because it's a Temazcal, and it's in this like igloo-looking hut. And they bring them out of the fire, put them in this little, container in the center. They kind of dig out the center, and then they put them in the center, and then they have buckets of water. And then after they bring in all the Abuelitos, which is like 20 of these molten hot rocks, it's already getting hot in there. Maybe like a tiny pinhole of air that's kind of clogged up, but sometimes it's just completely closed. And then they'll have like a heavy rug that'll close over the opening to the hut. You can't stand up in it. You got to sit down in it. So the heavy rug closes over the opening, and it is cave dark. And then the leader of the lodge, the leader of the Temazcal, starts pouring water and singing prayers and singing songs. And the steam, obviously, hitting the rocks, it just starts to, you can't see it because it's cave dark, but you just feel it. And it's just getting hotter and hotter.
This is making me anxious.
And hotter and hotter. And he just keeps pouring and keeps praying and keeps singing and keeps pouring. And then you try to sit for as long as you can. And then when the heat gets too much to bear, you lie down because the air is slightly cooler on the ground, but then he keeps pouring and he keeps pouring, and the herbs and the smoke and the air, until finally you're just sipping that last bit of cool air off the ground, wondering if you're going to die in the middle of the blackness and the heat, listening to prayers you can't understand in Spanish, that are going on. And then at that moment, when you think like, I may die, and you surrender to that, and like, if this is the way, so be it. And you have that moment, he'll say his final prayers, gracias, gracias, madre, gracias, Pachamama, gracias, whatever. And he'll open the door, and you'll see the light come through, or the starlight come through, and the cool rush of air will come through, and you'll crawl out on your hands and knees, and you'll look out at the world like reborn, like a new babe.
Crazy.
And like, you go through that fucking experience, and you get just a little taste, like a little taste of who you are as a human being, and it's fucking beautiful, man. It's beautiful. Like, we need that as human beings. We need these pressures. And if they're not going to, most of us, they're not going to come. Yeah. We have to go find them.
But you're like surrendering to those. And that's why we are so contrast. We're in a cool way.
Yeah.
We're like ice and fire, black and light. It's everybody has that like fight or flight thing,
Yep.
and surrender is in between those things. To knowingly, to acknowledge, to eyes wide open, be like, okay, I'm going to go through this process, this experience, this journey.
Yeah.
I do not have that. But I'll tell you what, if you put me in that corner and you bring in a velociraptor on cocaine, I will fight that motherfucker to the death. You're like, I know I have that. I got that fight in me.
Right.
You strap me into a plane and set it on fire, like I will tear the plane to shreds to get out of it,
Right.
You drop me in freezing cold water, like I will swim until I live, or I'll just boom, 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 go to the bottom, which whatever. But I'm gonna fight to the end. That surrender thing, like that, just my mind. I gotta think about this for a little while. Like that's crazy. That's cool.
It is. I mean, that is where I've actually done most of my fighting. Like the I haven't had the chances that you've had to really fight in that external sense. I love it. I love it, but I haven't had too many chances. I actually miss it. I was talking with other people. I'm like, I'm about to turn 37. I'm like, what the fuck can I do that kind of still matters a little bit as a sport? Because I can play pickup basketball. I'm like, yeah, all right, fine. Like I've dropped 30 on people plenty of times, and it doesn't make me nervous. It's not going to get me fired unless somehow we could aggregate like a couple thousand fans and people like who really cared. Then basketball would be like fun again. Like it's still fun, but it's just a play. But to do something physically, I think is something that I'm yearning for, because most of the heavy lifting, like the hard work I've done, it's all in that surrender sphere. It's in the Temescal. It's in the ayahuasca ceremony. It's in the Iboga ceremony, where you have to lay there and allow all the demons of the universe to come at you. And instead of fighting them, because that's a pointless process, you just have to surrender to their existence and try to push love and do nothing, like do the least. Like that's where my heavy fighting has been. And I miss the other side, And probably as you get older, and since we're homies, maybe there'll be a transition into you learning to fight through surrender. I mean, they're two different ways to approach the same thing.
Yeah, to get at the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I have some ideas. We could, like, you pick two things and we go and compete in them. And I'll pick two things and we go and compete in them.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Just we'll go do a random 3-gun tournament: shotgun, rifle, pistol.
Yeah.
Right. It's super physical. It's hand-eye coordination. It's fast, and it's exposed. Right. There's a bunch of fat old white dudes that go out there and think they're fast, and then we'll go and do a basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And you'll see this hairy troll crawl out from underneath the bridge, and I'll try to eat the ball, take the ball from my mouth, and then tell me what to do with it.
Just try and pop it. Just hold it so hard that you explode. Game over. Yeah, man. We can do stuff. I love playing. Yeah, shooting stuff, playing with balls. I'm down. Fuck it. We can figure some shit out. I was actually thinking about, speaking of sword fight, I was thinking about trying to pursue that a little bit more. I mean, I don't quite have the fast twitch that I used to, but it's still pretty good, pretty much there. And I feel like, kendo, like maybe taking that a little bit more seriously. The problem is, how do you find something as you grow older that people actually care about enough to watch, or like that really is meaningful to you? You know what I mean? Like that's what I miss from high school, college. High school, again, a couple thousand people at the games. You had your girls there. It like mattered. It was social status. It was in the papers. It was like important. And then in college, I didn't end up playing college ball for the team, but I got a chance to represent my fraternity. So we'd get 500 people out there. It'd be our drunk ass idiots fighting other drunk ass idiots for the fucking letters that we had on our lodge, even though we're two of the same fucking people that are just decided to go under different letters. But literally fist fights would go out, people chanting names, people yelling fucking the nastiest shit they could about who someone fucked or whatever happened. And so it mattered, and people would talk about that for a month. So it satisfies that urge to do something that's like, oh man, that thing was awesome. Got my blood up.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to have, as competitors, as people that try to push the envelope and push the limits, like we'll have that itch till the day that we die, and finding ways to scratch it are going to be challenging. People ask all the time, am I going to go back to the octagon and fight? Like that itch is always there. I still train 2 times a day, 6 days a week. I can come in and train with still the highest level guys at Jackson's and here and at my gym. But there's other itches.
It's true.
That have to be scratched. There's other, and I think I have less of a desire or this inclination, this drawing, this it's almost like this magnetic gravity that's pulling you to do something. Less about stepping in front of people and doing it for them, but more for doing it for me.
Yeah.
Or even more so doing it for
the people you'll inspire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an exact. How do you know that? That's it though. Like it's more for me now. It's like I want to inspire. Like I want to encourage. I want people to step out and get that fearlessness, that courage. So then it's like the question is, how do I go about doing that?
Yeah. I think that's the right question to ask. And I think, there is a valuable lesson of letting go of things that are part of certain chapters and letting go of those with grace. Like, we're not going to be able to carry all of the things that we've enjoyed for our whole life into every aspect of our life. There'll be new things that we can enjoy, new things that we can experience. And, it takes a bit of grace to realize like, I'm never going to compete in front of a bunch of people and have them give a shit anymore. But I can do this thing now. I can give a talk that'll inspire way more people that I couldn't give then. I can, have a great podcast. I can, build this company, create a new product, do these other things that I wasn't able to do then. So letting go of some of those things is, I think, an important thing that humans are not probably the best at.
No.
We want all of it all the time. Everything we've ever had, we want it to be stable. Nothing is stable. Time changes the landscape constantly.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of people that we can look to, like the Mike Rowe's and the Jockos that did that gracefully.
Mm-hmm.
Mike now, he used to have that Dirty Job show, and he was doing crazy things for television. Like he's crawling into sewers and fighting rats, and you're like, oh wow, that's so cool. And he's like showing these neat occupations, and now all he's doing is showing the selflessness of humans. He just goes around the country and finds people, and then podcasts, Facebook, YouTube, showing selflessness in kind of like the most beautiful form of this human condition. Like Jocko, he's not going to kick any doors as a Navy SEAL anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's going to compete a few more times as a black belt, a really good, talented one and a powerful guy, but he has moved from that ferocious, scary Navy SEAL into this powerfully inspiring, encouraging, motivationally exhilarating human.
Yeah.
Like you hear 5 sentences out of him and you're like, yeah, I'll run into a burning building and fight a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. So there are roadmaps to doing it. And I look to guys like that and Joe and you and finding the best and most pure and honest way to do it.
Yeah.
There are some really disingenuous people that are like trying to carry from one era or phase of their life, into the next. And it seems so insincere. Like you can see Jocko does it because he loves inspiring people. He loves really showing people how to be leaders. Joe does it because that's just who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't change that. And Mike's the same, and he's a exposed libertarian that wants to change the educational system, and he thinks the way that universities function are broken, and he's trying to heal this country one job at a time, which is really freaking cool. I'm just trying to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah. I think that's the mission. The mission should change in scope to an even grander mission. And I think if you look back, all of these other things, even though they were enjoyable, they were kind of practice. They were kind of practice for our real purpose, like what we're really here to do. I had a friend who's an author, and he's in his 50s, name's Ted Decker, and he's writing a book now. And he told me, I talked to him, he's one of my mentors, and he's sold over 10 million copies of different books, published 12, 15 books, I don't know. And he's writing this book now, and he's saying, I know that when I finish this book, I can die. Like, I've done what I'm here to do. Like, I can die after I finish this book. I'm not ready to die yet. I kind of want another 10 years or so. But he's like, I know that when I'm done, I can die. And I was like, I just got goosebumps, and I actually started like tearing up, like, oh shit, this is a guy who knows his purpose so well, and knows what he's been here to do so well, that he knows that when he finishes this work, it's cool to die. Everything else is just play.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, man, that's that's something to really look toward, is like, can you get there? Can you get there?
No. Like my purpose, is to find dirt bags, and either bury them or fuck them up. And I'm gonna do that till I'm like 95. Like
are you gonna have to find old dirt bags if you're 95?
Well, I mean,
like, are you gonna just be like Walker?
Hitler would be like 130 years old right now. So I could take, at 95, I could take 130-year-old Hitler.
Yeah.
taking a cane, maybe having like a little spike on it, and I'm just like, and I just stab him as I walk by. The Harvey Weinsteins. Could you imagine being in the hotel room, like you're in room 504 at the some swanky hotel in LA that he's trying to sexually assault some poor girl in, and you just hear her say no, and then you hear his creepy voice being like, I'm telling you, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go knock on that door. What's up, you nasty old dude?
Or you just that could be your new thing. It could be a new show called Surprise Motherfucker. And it's like To Catch a Predator, except it's way more violent.
Yeah,
in Surprise Motherfucker, you're just in the closet somewhere, right? And you're just waiting for someone to be a real dirtbag. And maybe they don't be a dirtbag, and then you just stay in the closet and you secretly leave later. You have your fucking Warrior Bar, you chill. But if they are a dirtbag, surprise motherfucker, and then you're out there, and then they got to reckon with you.
We'll have exposed Tim talk here. That's pretty much my fantasy right there. Every night when I go to bed, it's like terrorist comes into my home, or I'm just what is the wrong place at the wrong time for most people is like the perfect, is my dream come true. Like I'm at a resort in Niger, and a bunch of Boko Haram guys stormed the hotel to murder everybody. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. You know
what's funny is like when I was real young.
Surprise motherfucker.
Wrong hotel, wrong time, bitches.
Yes.
Sweet. I was so bad, and I was so like self-conscious about and so afraid of failing talking to girls when I was younger, that the fantasy of me, and I was just so bad at it, like, and so timid and so scared.
I don't believe you, but go on.
When I was like, when I was real young, and so I would have fantasies like that of like some bully trying to like do, because I was always training martial arts, and that would be like my consistent day in day out fantasy. Just find someone who's trying to be bad to some girl, and I'll come in, I'll fucking kick his ass, and then I won't have to talk about anything because then I'll be a hero already, And like I had that my like literally that was playing through my head like every day as a kid. Eventually I got better and better by high school and whatever. I was fine talking to girls, but like younger in elementary school, going into middle school, I was like way too bound up about it. So that was just my consistent fantasy. And when I was training and when I was doing martial arts, I was just like, please let it be the day. Let it be the day that Sarah or Ashley or whoever I was fixated on has some asshole or, who's trying to fuck with her.
Yeah. God.
Funny.
Yeah.
The hero impulse, that desire to be able to, there's a beautiful simplicity to it. And I think probably a lot of men get frustrated by our inability to be that. Right? Like I think in a primitive setting, men get to be that all the time. There's the wolves come in, a snake comes into the hut and it's striking, and you have to like deal with it. Or there's a warring clan that's coming to try and raid and steal your women, and you get to fight and be a hero. Like that's a part of who we are, and that's a part that almost none of us get to access anymore.
Yeah, I think the first, being a man is awesome. It's a cool opportunity, and it has to be a selfless thing. A lot of people think I'm a conservative, which is, I think, really funny because I'm not. I couldn't hate like Republicans and Democrats more because I'm so in the middle, and a conservative hearing something like safe space, like, oh, you snowflake, we don't say things like that. But we as men, we have had a safe space since our balls dropped. Have you ever walked down the road and thought there might be somebody around the corner that's going to rape you?
Never.
No. Have you ever looked at a hotel room and be like, I wonder who's in the room next to me, and they might try to come into my room? Or you look at the door that connects those two rooms and you make sure it's locked because you don't want somebody to come in while you're sleeping and try to rape you.
No, I did have Alan Joban training in his underwear in the hallway of a room, and I was a little worried that he was going to go in and fuck Whitney when I was gone, because he is a good-looking guy.
But you're scared for her.
I was actually scared for me because I think both of them would really enjoy it. But yeah, 100%.
So that's a safe space. Yeah. So like every Tim Kennedy fan that thinks I would never say safe space, we operate in these safe spaces, and with that, there's this responsibility to be a protector. A man, what I think a man is, masculine, powerful, selfless man, would never, on their worst day, their worst attitude, worst ever, hurt something less strong than them. Like our purpose for being here, all the way back to primal, like you're saying, comes to fighting a goddamn wolf.
Yeah.
A snake comes in. That's protector. That means that we will always do everything in our power to protect something near us.
Yeah.
We're not going to objectify a woman. We're not going to have them on the grid of F1 and in the scantily thing and be like, oh yeah, look at that girl. That's not what we're going to do, right? We're going to look at every opportunity to try to protect them, and even another guy that's smaller than us. We're gonna be the first person to step up to protect them.
Yeah.
And that has been missing for a really long time. And it's a beautiful thing. There's this attack on masculinity where like being a white man, you have all these privileges. Yes, we do. We do. I do. Like I came from an upper middle class. My folks own land in California. Like I could not have had it better. And with that came privilege. I'm a white 220-pound guy. I have a crazy amount of privilege. And with that comes an opportunity and a responsibility as a man, as a masculine, powerful human, to protect those around me.
It's not about the privilege, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that people say. It's not something to knock you and undermine. It's to say, all right, here's your starting position. With that starting position, how far did you run? Where did you go? You know, it's this crazy thing. It's like, you know, when people are on the track and one person is staggered ahead because of the curve of the track, you know, it's like judging people based on their starting position, not even looking how they ran. Well, he got that starting block. Well, it doesn't matter that he ran his ass off and fucking did everything he could. He had a good starting position. So everything you've done is fucking undermined, which is total bullshit, you know, because like, yes, there's certain advantageous positions that everybody will have, especially if you go comparatively. But it's never about that. It's about what did you do from your spot.
We have an opportunity, especially now with the pop culture attention to sexual harassment and dirtbag dudes being dirtbag dudes, for real men to step up and say, okay, this is what a man looks like. This is what real masculinity looks like. This is what a father looks like. This is what a husband looks like. This is what a protector looks like. I want to talk about courage and fearlessness. This is somebody that's going to step up and say, no, man, you're wrong. Yeah. Think about all of the hundreds and thousands of people around Harvey Weinstein that could have stepped up and said, you're a freaking dick. You're a nasty, disgusting dude. No, you can't do that. How many of them did that? I don't care about Harvey. He's a dime a dozen. It's the thousands of other dudes that didn't have the balls to be men, that didn't have the balls to step up and be a protector. Because there's always going to be
they were hoping for that little wink of favor from the powerful Harvey that would advance their career, advance their little microcosm of how they felt about themselves or the advantage they had, and so it creates this distortion around him, you know, and not a man amongst them was strong enough to stand up and say, no, that's bullshit.
Yeah. All the way back to the beginning where we said millions of little decisions. Millions of little decisions led up to those cowards not doing something. Where they had an opportunity where they saw that fat old man take that 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old girl and walk out the room with her to his hotel room and not say something. You know, it was millions of little decisions, that hope for favor, that opportunity for, you know, a producer slot in their next show, whatever pathetic motivation. But more importantly, there were opportunity, and there's still right now, there's opportunity for men to be men and show the world what it looks like to be a protector.
Yeah.
And we're failing right now. The opportunity's there. And people are missing that chance. They're missing that boat.
I think a lot of people are, but I also think the microscope, what everyone is choosing to shine a light on are the failures. You know what I mean? Because that facilitates and exacerbates the story. Certainly there are tons of failures. But I don't think the men who are doing the thing are getting nearly the spotlight to start to correct that. It's like, oh, look at this problem. Oh, look at this problem. Oh, look at this problem. Look at this dirtbag. Look at this dirtbag. but how much attention is being given to the positive examples. Look at this guy who did say something. Look at this guy who did it the right way. Look at this guy who made it through Hollywood the whole time and treated every woman
They're
that he
hard
met
to find, though.
with respect.
I've been looking.
Really?
I've been looking for those guys in the news, like even searching for them. and they're a diamond in the rough, and it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
There should be tens of millions of them. You know, that we had a shooting just down the road from us. A crazy guy walked into a church and started shooting some people. And a guy driving down the road with a concealed carry permit zips off, pulls out his gun, and starts shooting at him, and saved countless people inside of that church. And that's just some Texas redneck, but doing the right thing. You know, seeing an opportunity to try to protect. I'm looking for that in this story, in these examples, and they're rare. What I'm saying is we now have an opportunity in the next year, in the next 5 years, to show the world, to show this country, to show, for Hollywood, for the Ben Afflecks, for the, who's Jason Bourne? Matt Damon, for those guys, because they were there. They were there on those nights. For the next generation, for them to step up and show what real courage looks like and what it means to be a man.
Yeah.
And men don't let that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm with you. It's making those, hard ass choices. And I've met some men who are like that, and those are the ones that you call brother when you look them in the eye. Like my homie Ed Skrein, who played Francis in Deadpool. Did you see Deadpool?
Yeah.
So he was the bad guy in Deadpool. He got cast in a sick role in Hellboy, which would have been another like huge kind of franchise role for him. But in the original comic, that character was played by an Asian American actor, and he was fully set to do it. But Asians were like, "Oh man, this is a chance for like an actual Asian to really burst into the Marvel universe or whatever comic book universe." So they were bummed out, and he just goes, "Yeah, you're right. Like this should be someone represented. I'm stepping down from the role." Like no one pressured him to do that. He just stepped down from the role and be like, "There'll be other roles, mate. Like, there's no scarcity, bruv. Like, we're fucking good." Like, and that attitude is like something that inspires me, and that's the attitude that would inspire you. And those people are out there, but that made like a little tiny blurb headline. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think we all need to make a bigger deal about these people that we find that are like that, because there's certainly going to be plenty of the other example. Yeah. And then the problem is, then when you look out at the world, you just look and say, "Man, the world is fucked." But yeah, in some ways it is, but some ways they're not. There's fucking, you're rolling around there too. Yeah. Like Ed Skrein is rolling around there too. There's other people rolling around that we don't maybe hear about. And there is great people and great things about this life.
I get access to some crazy communities, worlds, cultures, from human trafficking, poaching, this TV show, going and doing the craziest jobs that you can find on the planet. And I'm tuning my eye to see those guys. And, I've been in Trinidad, Tobago on a human trafficking sting, and watching a John go to meet the girl, and the muscles there, the driver's there.
I'm imagining like a scene from Taken.
Yeah, I wish. So it's a jilt. We're actually not allowed to do anything. I just need to record the transaction happening, which is the most infuriating, emasculating. You want to talk about Tim's worst nightmare? It's watching evil happen
and not being able to do anything about it.
Not being allowed to do anything because I have to record it happening. But I'm sitting there with the camera, right? Got a gun in case things get super nasty or we get caught, and watching some random dude on the street see some little young 15-year-old girl walking up to meet some 45-year-old dude, and some 25-year-old Trinidad guy walking down the road. It's like, "Hey, a second. Hey, you get back in that car, and you, old man, I'm going to knock your teeth in." And watching it happen, and everybody goes their way, and I follow that guy, I'm like, what do you do? Who are you? Because who would do that, right? Who has the the whereabouts, the situational awareness to see what's actually happening. That this random little girl walking up to meet some random little guy old guy on the street corner is actually a human trafficking exchange.
Yeah.
But he could sense and he could see that. That's those diamonds that I'm talking about. And those are the guys that are rare. And the number of jilts that I've done in the hundreds, I've only seen that twice. But that happens in public. It happens at a park. It happens on the street corner. So it's not like there's hundreds of people walking. Like, how many people drive down a car that's broken down? There's some poor old lady sitting behind the steering wheel shaking because her car just ran out of gas and she doesn't know what to do. You know, she's 85. But how many people drive down that road? Hundreds? Thousands? You know, we could be right here on 71 or Mopac or 35. And I was driving by and I saw an airbag deployed. And thousands of people. I don't know how long that person had been there. And it was just an old lady who had a bumper, but she didn't even know how to use her phone because she was like so spun up. And it took 2 seconds to walk in there and fix that problem.
Yeah.
You know, so those opportunities, man, we got a chance right now. You want to talk about inspiring? How many people listen to you? You know, how many people look up to you? You're like, you're athletic, ripped, author, you know, CEO of a company. Like, we have an opportunity to show people what it means to be a man.
Yep.
And that it's a cool thing. That masculine's awesome.
Opportunity and responsibility.
A lot of responsibility.
That's what we're here for, man.
Yeah. Hurry up and fail.
Hurry up and fucking fail and be that everyday hero.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? And when you are that guy, you'll find yourself in more situations that
all the time
that you can help people.
So true.
I remember like Roger Huerta was one of those guys that would be there and he would constantly find himself in these situations.
So
like
true.
it would just blow my mind. Like he was like that situation that was on TMZ where that guy comes and crow hops, big old 280-pound guy, crow hops and punches that girl in the back of the head. 40 people looking around like, damn, that guy just punched a girl in the back of the head.
But
Roger,
brown dude with tattoos,
little guy walking up. You can't do that, man. It puts his hands. You can't fucking do that. And then pushes him, takes his shirt off, and it's on.
Yep.
And how does that video end? With that big old guy in a fucking heap on the ground. And it was other times that nobody knows about, like someone nearly drowning in the water in Thailand, and he's swimming out there and doing it. I saw even small crazy incidences where he's just his training and his attitude. This was a silly one. There was a house party, and a girl who didn't really know how to work a stripper pole on a freestanding stripper pole was swinging around at the top of it.
Oh no!
Furniture and shit everywhere. The whole thing starts to topple, and she's gonna crash. I mean, definitely not life-threatening, but definitely like a party bummer for sure. Because she would have gotten hurt bad. And all of us were like, "Oh no! There goes the pole!" And he just like runs around and like holds it, you know, like and just stops it from going.
Yeah.
And all of us are like, "Whoa! Nice fucking move, man!" Like we all would have wanted to help, but he's just put himself in that position, practiced it,
You'll be there more,
and you'll see that. And when you start to see that, you'll find yourself in those positions.
Yeah, little decisions.
Yep.
Millions of little decisions, and maybe we'll be saving a stripper on a pole the first time. Second time will be an old lady behind a wheel. Yeah. Third time it's going to be some girl on the street corner that just got hit by a dude. Next time it might be a girl about to be raped behind a building. You know. Maybe you're on the street corner at a marathon in Boston. You see a guy set a bag down. You know, there's no telling what it's going to be, but it's going to be millions of little decisions that's going to put you at the right place at the right time to do something incredible.
God damn, I'm fired up to be a man right now.
Yeah.
God damn, I'm fired up to be a human being.
So let's make good decisions.
Let's make fucking good decisions. I love you people. Tim Kennedy, you're the best. Everybody watches shows. They're fucking amazing. He's hard to kill. That's coming out on Discovery. When's it come out?
It's going to be, we have 2 more episodes to film, so maybe 3 months.
Hopefully he lives through those and this show actually comes out. It's great having you on, my brother.
God, I love being here.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
See you later, everyone.